Good evening. Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices, secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror. The pictures of airplanes flying into buildings, fires burning, huge structures collapsing, have filled us with disbelief, terrible sadness, and a quiet, unyielding anger. These acts of mass murder were intended to frighten our nation into chaos and retreat, but they have failed.
9/11 was an event that only lasted for a day, but its consequences would be felt for decades. Immediately after the tragic terrorist attack occurring on September 11, 2001, Bush initiated Operation Enduring Freedom. The operation's goal was to remove the two terrorist organizations that orchestrated the attack from power in Afghanistan. The operation mainly used bombs and missiles to force the terrorist groups to retreat into the mountains and eventually Pakistan. The operation then moved U.S. troops to the Philippines and the Horn of Africa in order to fight terrorism and teach local militaries how to defeat terrorist nations. The U.S. became involved in lots of other conflicts throughout the world because of this newfound fear of terrorism. One of the more notable cases of this involvement was the Iraq War. The U.S. became alarmed when they gathered intel that suggested that Saddam Hussein had access to nuclear weapons. As a result, America intermediately deployed troops into the area for the next several years. Change also occurred on American soil to combat terrorism. The U.S. government created the TSA in order to create and enforce new laws for airport security. The organization was one of the largest organizations created by the government since World War II. The U.S. also had to increase debt overhead so that they could have money to supply the war efforts in the Middle East. This caused great tension in the political parties that eventually led to a global fear of U.S. debt default in 2013 when the government shut down. 9/11 created America's commitment to the war on terror, which in turn dictated the course of U.S. history for years to come.